Since the beginning of my finals career, I have loved melee weapons. In my very first game, before I knew it was even happening, I saw my teammate becoming invisible and lunging around, getting tons of kills with a sword. And I copied his kit. Since then, sword has been my favorite weapon. Even if I never used it seriously in ranked games, it was the coolest. With that said, ever since the nerf to sword lunges in 4.6, I've been hoping for something like this. To me it seems melee has stagnated into uselessness. Obviously, realistically, melee weapons are simply inferior to modern guns. However, this is a virtual game show. There are no rules. The history of humanity demands that melee weapons have a bigger part in the finals, and after this update, they very well may. Taking a look at the article posted by Embark on this website, the finals is introducing quite a few things in Season 11 for melee. They updated the whole of melee, meaning that every melee weapon is changed, and thereby fighting against every single melee weapon is also changed. The finals has added a stamina system, solely controlling lunging, which has been applied to every single melee weapon. Along with this, there is now a countering system to melee on top of also making accuracy more necessary in melee combat. While beforehand, if you used melee aim assist, you could get a boost to range for your first strike. That has been removed, and now you can control lunge based on the amount of stamina you have and your proximity to an enemy. I'm not quite sure about whether or not you can lunge outside of range from an enemy based on this document, but I suppose that shall be figured out experimentally quite soon. It appears that these lunges will just be a basic attack from the weapon along with a horizontal boost, and it also seems that each weapon's lunge shall be different in length based on the weapon itself. Stamina only affects when you're able to lunge. It seems like it will deplete with both base attacks and the new lunges along with quick melee attacks. Its purpose is to limit the frequency of lunges, stopping a melee user from combo locking somebody. On top of this, a new system has been added to make distance in point-blank combat. Now the regular quick melee that all players have has lost some damage and has been given stamina of its own, which controls a new ability, the kick. The kick will push nearby players away and cost stamina. It will be controlled solely on proximity to another player and will not be controllable separate from the typical melee attack. I'm assuming it works with any player that's close by and therefore can be used in cases like fighting a winch heavy with a gun, as well as being used against all melee combatants. Lastly, the finals has made melee weapons more reliant on aim than they have been in the past. And now it is that, with a sweeping attack, if you hit the opponent while you're not directly looking at them, your attack will do less damage. With that, let's get into ranking. First up is the dagger. Before the update, the meta for dagger was not to use melee assist and to dash behind your enemies with evasive dash and flick them with the charged attack. Now, it's pretty much the same. Because before the update it already required accuracy to hit somebody, it doesn't really affect it now that we have this new accuracy system. The only real change is the lunge. The dagger's lunge is significant. While the new lunge doesn't affect the meta of dashing behind your opponents and stabbing them, it does really help in cases where you're able to sneak up behind your opponents, as it effectively increases the range of the stab many times over. For all of these reasons, the dagger is going into the viable tier. It's stronger than it was before, but compared to the other reworked weapons, you're better off picking something else. For example, the sword. While before, it had a regular swipe and secondary lunge attack, putting emphasis on the regular swipes used with the evasive dash, now the sword is more focused on its lunge. The sword is able to make use of the stamina bar without being in range of enemies, which is unique among the reworked weapons. Using the right-click lunge on sword utilizes both your stamina and the base lunge, allowing you to lunge really far. While the stamina refills about half as fast as you can use the lunge attack, and the base lunge is almost useless now after it had its range shortened significantly, I'd say even for mobility out of combat, it's better than before. Because the lunge on sword was already an attack that required accuracy, so long as you hit your lunge, you will have your stamina bar replenished because of the fact that when you get an accurate hit, it's automatically replenished. This has shifted the meta for sword back to lunges from swipe spamming. Now the sword is much more like a lance. You ride by on your faithful steed and stab them in the chest, and then you turn around and go for another pass until they're dead. Not exactly like lancing, I know. Note that the lunge version for both of the sword's base attacks still deals the same damage as the original attacks do. Sword kills in 2 of either of the sword's attacks on a light, 1 lunge and a regular swipe and a quick melee for medium, and 2 lunges and a regular attack on heavy. While the lunge attacks are a bit stronger than the swipes, so you can replace any of those swipes with lunges, Those are the fastest combos I've been able to find. With that said, Sword is way stronger than it was before. The regular swipe using quick dash is also heavily debuffed due to slower attack speeds, accuracy requirements, and the loss of a charge for quick dash, making it no longer viable, but the new meta using lunges is way stronger than the last one ever was. With all that, I'm placing Sword into highly viable. Honestly, it's probably going to get nerfed soon. Next up we have dual blades, perhaps the most finicky melee weapon in the past. The dual blades had the most consequential attack progression, gaining damage until the last attack, which was weaker than the first two for some reason. The main techie meta from before was to skip the last attack by swapping to a gadget or specialization and then swapping back and reinitiating the combo or starting blocking. Now it's quite different. Dual blades faced no nerfs whatsoever to any way of using it, realistically. Its block, the same as ever. Now, you can attack as you leave your block into that double swipe attack, which was the last in the 3-hit progression. The difference now is that attack does way more damage. It almost one-shots a light. Along with this, the regular attack now just repeats the first in the old sequence. I'm fairly certain it doesn't increase in damage. The lunge, however, is basically just like it was before. For these reasons, dual blades goes into viable. They're good, but not broken. Stronger than they were for sure. Now they're much more meta than they were. From the amount I use them, I predict we'll see a lot more dual blades players. Alright, so the other melee weapon for medium is the Riot Shield, and oh boy, I am happy with this rework. While before, it was basically just you had a shield blocking your left and a baton in your right hand, which dealt decent damage, plus a largely useless main block. Now in the new update, the shield is slower while it's held up, but it does block pretty much all bullets that come your way. The shield is larger, and also blocks melee strikes. On top of this, the shield now has a bash, which can be used while the shield is up to push enemies away. I kinda thought, based on the notes, that it would be more defensive now, but realistically it's even better for chasing people. As they run away, they might turn around to shoot you, which sometimes would work, but now you can just block every single bullet pretty easily. On top of this, I feel like the bash is kind of more useful to push people into corners than to push them away from you. Based on these changes, it's going into highly viable. It's much stronger than it was before, that is for sure. Next up, second to last, Spear. Now I don't know a lot about Spear, in fact the only time I really used it was in the Heaven or Else event, but from my knowledge, before the update it was pretty weak compared to Sledge. It seemed to have a bigger range, but it was generally weaker in combat and couldn't destroy tiles like the Sledgehammer could. Now, it's honestly almost the same. Only difference is that it has a barely noticeable lunge on left-click poke. It's most definitely underpowered. Lastly, we have the Sledgehammer. The melee weapon with the highest pick rate and population of serious players. The Sledgehammer was alright before. Certainly not meta, but it was viable enough and it was cool. It could one-shot lights and deal massive damage as well as destroying tiles quite easily. Now, it's basically the same. Other than its lunge, which is definitely nice, it does lunge you pretty far, it's pretty much unchanged from my use, and I can't tell if I'm just bad or not. It's not too good. I give it underpowered along with the Spear. It's definitely a bit stronger than the Spear, but not by much. Honorable mention is Quick Melee. Now the Quick Melee is, it pushes people away now. I didn't really play anything other than Melee, so I don't know how useful it is for pushing people away, but it did seem pretty okay, honestly. I'm a bit mad, now Melee just does less damage, so your combos are messed up pretty much. So yeah, it's up to you guys to find new combos to use Quick Melee. Thank thee for watching my humble video. Like, subscribe, and comment. I shall post again, probably.